Within the larger Eastlands area of Nairobi, near the Mukuru-Konjenga informal settlement, is a former quarry that gives this area its name, Kware, a prominent feature emblematic of the neglect and decay witnessed over the past few months, where everything discarded comes to rest. Underneath this floating mass of trash lies a dark pool of water, just beneath the surface, hinting at what we can't see. This place isn't just a dump site, it is a graveyard of secrets. When local diver Charles Wambua agreed to help a woman who said she'd had a vision of her missing sister dumped at the Kware dump site, he had no idea just how many bodies he will be pulling from its depths.
Tumeshakaza kuona miili hapa Kware, kwa hiyo shimo ya Kware. Sasa hiyo mauaji imekuwa mingi. Asubuhi tulikuwa tumetoa 6 na sasa hii tumetoa 2. Inua. Pandisha. Wewe pandisha. Funguni. Yende juu. Yende. Juu. Yende juu. Songa nyuma wewe.
Tulipofungua hiyo gunia, kitu tuliona ni parts za human beings zimekatakatwa into pieces. Miguu kando, mikono kando, kila kitu kando.
The retrieval of these bodies unfolded amid nationwide protests against the finance bill and reports of abductions and killings that fired up speculation about the identities of these bodies.
The video you're about to see is disturbing. Decomposing bodies pulled out of a quarry in the Mukuru-Konjenga neighborhood of Nairobi. It is not clear who these people are, who dumped these bodies there, or how long they have been there. But activists say they had the same characteristics, same sacks, same ribbons.
Paradoxically, the Kware police post is situated just 100 meters from where the bodies were found. This combination of circumstances led to public tension and frustration toward the police officers and forensic investigators who visited the scene. Two days after the retrieval exercise began, the then Acting Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja issued the first official statement.
To ensure a fair and biased investigation, I have moved the officers from Kware Police Station. In these difficult times, we stand with the community and remain committed to uncovering the truth and bringing those responsible to justice.
We were able to recover a total of 8 bodies, 6 plus the 2 of yesterday, at a various level of decomposition.
The discovery of the dismembered bodies made the Nairobi Funeral Home, formerly City Mortuary, an impromptu gathering point for families searching for missing loved ones. Each passing minute spent here was steeped in dread. Among these families was Paris, Kware and Dika, the woman whose haunting vision of her sister had led to the grim discovery of bodies at Kware.
Yani sikuamini. Yani sikuamini kama inaweza fanyika hivyo.
Zilikuwa ni miili ambazo zilikaa sana kwa mtu. Kwa maana ungejua ni nani. Miili zilitoka zote zikiwa nyeupe. Haungejua huyu mtu alikuwa mweusi ama alikuwa mweupe, haungejua. Zote zilikuwa kala moja na zilikuwa zimefura na zilikuwa zimeharibika.
As they waited for DNA testing to confirm if the body they viewed was truly their sister Josephine, who had gone missing from her home in Mukuru on 26th June. Other families arrived, hoping to identify their loved ones for the first time.
Nimekuja hapa City Mortuary kutafuta dada yangu Rosi Ogongo mwenye alipotea, hajaonekana tangu tarehe 28 July.
Roslyn Akoth Ogongo had only spent 3 months in Nairobi, having arrived in the city on April 1st, 2024, from Asembo in Siaya County, full of hope and dreams, determined to build a better life as a young mother of 3. According to her family, Rose left home, as she always did, to go scout for any casual work she could get.
Siku ya mwisho hiyo, ndugu yangu mwenye anaishi naye ndio aligundua siku hiyo, sababu hakurudi jioni. Sasa akampigia, vile aliniambia, alimpigia. Sasa kupiga simu inalia na hakuna mwenye anashika. Tena akirudia ikashikana na wake waelewana. Ni kama mwenye simu sasa, ni kama mwingine tu ndiye alishika, hakujua kama ni yeye ama ni mwingine. Sasa kesho simu ikaanza kupotea.
For Karen, there was only one course of action: to confirm whether one of the bodies retrieved from the quarry and lying on the mortuary's cold slab was her sister's. However, Rosalind's brother, who had housed her until her disappearance, remained uncertain of the corpse's identity after viewing the bodies at the morgue.
Kwanza nitaangalia sura, nitaangalia kichwa kama haijagongwa, hakuna kidonda ama hakuna nini kidonda. Alafu nitaangalia shingo, nitaangalia mkono, ninajua, nitaangalia miguu, hata matiti. Ni dada yangu, ninamjua kamili. Miguu ikipatikana kando nitafahamu tu ni miguu ya Rosi.
Almost 10 minutes later, after Karen went into the morgue, the first step of the identification process was finally over.
Nimetoka kule ndani, nimepata Rosi. Nimegundua Rosi na meno yake na nywele yake. Dada yangu ametoa.
Tumeona ni yeye, ile nguo alikuwa amevaa akitoka kwa nyumba, ile appearance yake na ile meno tumehakikisha ni yeye, isipokuwa huku chini hatujaona. Nimeuliza hapo nikiwa ndani, akaniambia ni hiyo tu ilipatikana, hiyo ingine haijaonekana, hawajui mahali iko. Hiyo ndio ilipatikana, ndio wakaleta hapa.
It was now up to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to handle the identification through DNA analysis, helping Rosalyn Ogongo's family and others like them confirm whether those were the remains of their loved ones. As all this unfolded at the city morgue, the investigation team updated the nation on their progress. A suspect was in custody.
Today, early this morning, at around 1, we arrested the prime suspect named Collins Jumaisi Harucha. Yesterday we did recover one more body, bringing the total to 9 bodies recovered so far.
The suspect was arrested at Soweto in Kayole sub-county this morning at around 3 a.m. in a joint operation by the DCI and the National Police Service officers.
33-year-old Collins Jumaisi was named as the mastermind of the Kware murders. A search at his home in Kware, according to investigators, led to the recovery of crucial evidence: multiple phones, Airtel SIM cards, a machete, 2 title deeds and 2 female undergarments, among other items.
We have a machete that in the course of investigation, he confesses to have been using to dismember the bodies.
The suspect confessed to have lured, killed and disposed 42 female bodies at the dumping site, all murdered between 2022 and as recent as last day, 11th of July, 2024.
Back at the dump site, the atmosphere was slowly shifting. For the young men who had volunteered to retrieve the bodies, what began as an act of service was now putting a target on their backs.
Wambua pia alipata calls juu kwa polisi. Wendi unatoa mili hapo, akatishiwa asiingie the following day. So hakukuja the following day, kitu alikuja jioni. Tushaingia tushatoa bodies kaa 4.
According to Gasheru, the process of retrieving bodies felt rushed.
Tulisimamisha process for around 2 weeks. County ikakuja ikaingilia ikasema turudi hapo ndani. Wakakuja na ma-DCI, wakatuguide, tukaingia. But walikuwa wanaharakisha tuseme imeisha.
We reached out to Wambua to hear his side of the story, but he declined to speak following the threats he received over his involvement with the exercise. However, this isn't the first time where local divers have reported being threatened by state officers. In the case of the mutilated bodies retrieved from River Yala 2 years ago, the diver Nicholas Okero cited his life was in danger. In Okero's case, he was cautioned to be careful as there were plans to implicate him in the tragedy of the mysterious bodies.
Naomba wana Kenya tu wanisaidie. Iko vile mimi naona dalili sio mzuri na mimi.
It was said he was responsible for hiding dead bodies, so he could be paid by families of the victims.
Wase usema si tulilipona gawa tukakataa kumaliza process. Mi hakuna kitu naogopa sahi. Ni hili tu ushare that story. Ifikange baadaye watu wajuange ukweli ilikuwa hapa. Nini ilifanyika hii process hii kuisha.
Within the week of the discovery of the Kware bodies, a number of promises and reassurances had already been made by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and President William Ruto as well.
Those who are charged with making sure that there is comprehensive investigations on matters that we have witnessed in Kware, where many Kenyans, including young girls, have lost their lives. That process must be expedited and the truth must be found so that those who are involved in this heinous act must be punished and must be taken to court.
Our departmental resources and the officers in collaboration with the ODPP are working tirelessly to conclude the investigations within 21 days.
For the divers at Mukuru, the confession by the main suspect Collins Jumaisi that he had dumped 42 bodies at the dumpsite meant one thing: an all-round-the-clock exercise for further retrievals. However,
siwezi sema tulimaliza ama tulimaliza process tu kumaliza. Hiyo ndio one thing iko kwa nini, process haikuisha. Ilifika katikati tukaambiwa iko hivi, tusimamishe kwanza na DCI, na ukionekana hapo ndio utakuwa responsible ya hizo bodies, wewe ndio utasemekana penye, wewe ndio unazitupa hapo.
This sudden halt of the retrieval exercise was a red flag, not just for the divers, but also for those at the forefront of ensuring that due process was followed and justice accorded to the victims.
In any given situation, such as the Kware situation, you would expect to see there a team of experts, divers, you know, people who are used to investigating forensics and others. But you have homicide, probably the highest office under the homicide in the DCI, coming there to negotiate with local boys.
The reliance on locals to do the hard work in such cases has become the norm in Kenya. In the recent past, young men volunteered to dig out the shallow graves of victims of the Shakahola massacre at a cost. According to Hussein Khalid, a lawyer and human rights activist, this is contrary to the image that the Directorate of Criminal Investigations has sought to cultivate, including a much-touted award as being Africa's best investigations department.
I think the DCI failed Kenyans on the issue of Kware, and didn't just fail them, but failed them drastically.
Government process yote wamepea vijana 1,000. Maybe wali spend 20,000 kwa hiyo process iko hapo. Juu hiyo 1,000 ilitoka after sijui wiki mbili after hivyo ndio walikuja wakatutumia hiyo 1,000.
Peter Gasheru, an amateur diver, admits that the entire process was supported by the community in Mukuru, who had even set up a pay bill as a way of support to the divers.
In terms of the success of any investigation, 70% of the success of any investigation is how do we examine the crime scene. So if we don't preserve that crime scene, if we allow members of the public to contaminate the crime scene, then we may not be very far.
Why didn't they do a basic thing like putting that yellow tape that they normally put? And people respect that.
Patrick Mutai is the director at the Center for Human Rights and Policy Studies, a research policy think tank whose work centers on issues of security, policing, crime and crime management. According to Mutahi, all this boils down to a lack of accountability and professionalism within the system.
I think for me is lack of interest on putting resources to that, lack of seriousness in putting resources into that, into the kind of, getting the gear, because I've seen in some cases the DCI come with the white overalls and the shoes and they're able to secure the site.
In 2017, Kenya enacted the National Coroner's Service Act, a critical piece of legislation aimed at protecting human dignity and ensuring police accountability. The Act established the Coroner's Service in Kenya, tasked with investigating all violent, sudden, or suspicious deaths. The Act established the Officer of a Coroner General, who would properly coordinate and ensure the efficient delivery of its mandate, which includes timely investigation of deaths, as well as monitoring and evaluation of individual cases.
But that the coroner's office has never been established, that speaks volumes into it. But also the other thing is that it can be established and not given space to operate, resources.
For context, on August 2024, Dr. Walter Ogon, an Independent and Policing Oversight Authority Commissioner, told the National Assembly Constitutional Implementation and Oversight Committee that they, as IPOA, want the forensic lab off the hands of the Directorate of Criminal Investigation so that the lab can serve all agencies without any interference from the officers. Launched by former President Uhuru Kenyatta in June 2022, the National Forensic Laboratory has different sections, including fingerprints, ballistics, document examination, biological and chemistry sections, among others, which help investigators deal with various crimes such as rape, murder, cyber fraud, just to mention a few. The lab, according to IPOA, should be independent, as it is central to all police investigations, especially in cases where officers are involved. As it stands, the lab is vulnerable to interference where police officers are being investigated, meaning that it is unlikely to be impartial in such cases.
Murder, robbery, cybercrime to rape solved scientifically in record time.
At the lifetime of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, we have not seen the level of uncooperation we are seeing now from the police commanders, senior police officers, because we have sometimes to go back to them, for instance, to get certain documentations that we cannot move without. But we have since found a very hostile environment where our officers, when they go out, they are not getting any information. And when we give out summonses, they are not responded to.
So what the government is doing is letting Kenyans know that these officers exist, but they don't facilitate them to work. So what good am I in office and I get my salary, yes, fine, but I can't even walk or even drive to the next town to investigate.
Back to the Kware case. At the Nairobi Funeral Home, the autopsy examination on the bodies received from Kware had been completed.
Contents of 4 of them were limbs, lower limbs, which were amputated from the knees downwards. And there were 2 right legs and 2 left legs. There was also a whole body of a female who we examined, and we found that she had head injury. Bodies which are severely decomposed, it becomes very, very difficult to assign a cause of death, because there's what is called postmortem artifacts, where so many tissues are gotten lost because of decomposition.
The DCI also made progress. They had already handed over their suspect to the courts, first to the Kiambu Law Courts, and then to Makadara after the court in Kiambu declined to charge the suspect, citing jurisdiction issues. 2 more suspects who were arrested in connection with the murders, Amos Momanyi and Moses Ogembo, were also arraigned. The 2 were arrested for handling a phone belonging to Roslyn Ogongo. Collins and his 2 co-accused were to remain in custody for 30 and 28 days respectively to allow for completion of investigations. As the National Police Service updated its progress regarding the 2 suspects arraigned, they also mentioned of a second raid at the prime suspect's home in Mukuru. This time round, the single-room rented house in Kware gave homicide detectives additional clues. A pillowcase with noticeable bloodstains, a blood-stained t-shirt, a blood-stained hammer, a blood-stained pair of pliers, scissors and 3 knives, one with bloodstains, were recovered. As Collins neared the end of his extended 7-day hold at Gigiri police station, following an initial 30-day stay, an unexpected twist unfolded.
There was an incident of prisoners' escape that happened at Gigiri police station where we are as at now. 13 prisoners escaped from the cells, among them 12 Eritrean nationals who were arrested for being illegally in Kenya, and 1 male murder suspect, namely Collins Jumaisi Kalusha, who is connected with the Kware murder incident.
This is nothing new. It is not the first time a murder suspect has escaped police custody in this country.
Confessed serial killer Masden Milimu Wanjala has escaped from police custody.
The suspect, Masden Wanjala, who confessed to have killed 10 minors in different locations in the country, has been in detention, waiting to be arraigned.
Now, police from Nairobi region are still questioning 4 police officers who were manning Muthaiga police station when a murder suspect, Kevin Kang'ethe Kinyanjui, escaped from custody on Wednesday.
The daughter of the deceased, Caroline Wangoi, was shocked after the officer commanding station, OCS, informed her that the Ugandan Shamba boy, who allegedly killed her brother in November last year, had escaped from the station.
While Kelvin Kang'ethe and the Ugandan national were arrested, murder suspect Masden Wanjala was killed by a mob in his home village. Following Collins Jumaisi's escape from custody, 5 police officers accused of aiding the escape, including that of 12 Eritreans, were arraigned at the Milimani Law Court.
Respondents be and hereby admitted to bail on the following terms. Each respondent shall execute a personal bond of 200,000 shillings each, with 1 surety. The surety shall also execute a personal bond of 100,000 shillings on behalf of each respondent, and they are to ensure the attendance of the respondents to the office of the investigating officer twice a week for the period requested of the 14 days.
The biggest problem facing the police service in present-day Kenya is impunity. When you talk of impunity, we're talking of utadu. You know, you can't take me anywhere. Utanifanya nini? And this speaks a lot about the leadership, because everyone is supposed to have somewhere anaeza pelekwa. You fail to do your work, there should be someone supervising you, you know, to say, why are you not doing this?
Away from the developments and setbacks in the investigation into the Kware murders, the affected families demanded for updates from the authorities as they were left in the dark about the progress of the case. Roslyn Ogongo's family was desperate for answers from investigators, as the 3 weeks they were told were needed to process and share results from the DNA analysis had come and gone.
Sahii ilikaa wiki 5 baada tujapewa matokeo. Tukienda huko tunaambiwa tungojee. Wanailinganisha na kesi ya Shakahola. Sasa wanatuuliza Shakahola ilifanyika kitambo na tumewahi sikia watu wamechukua mwili wa familia yao wameenda kuzika. Sasa kwa hivyo pia tungoje.
Je, mtu wenu akikufa na hajazikwa hata kazi ifanyike. Tukipewa hiyo mwili nusu, tuseme hiyo ingine imekosekana. Sasa tutakubali tu sababu hakuna njia nyingine tutampata.
On the first week of September, the family received the official DNA results. The body they had viewed was indeed Roslyn's. Her body was among 4 others positively identified. According to the post-mortem examination report on Roslyn's remains, the pathologist ruled that her cause of death was ligature strangulation, meaning that a cord like a rope wire or shoelace had been used to strangle her to death. Additionally, the report also indicated that Roseline had no defense injuries present, and the transection on the area of her abdomen, where her body was cut in half, had irregular cutting edges.
Postmortem alipata ati alinyongwa. Kwanza ati alinyongwa. Baada ya kunyongwa alikatwa na action.
Tarehe kama ya leo tutakuwa mahali hapa kwa ajili ya kumpa heshima yake ya mwisho dada yetu Rose.
Following the conclusion of the post-mortem and DNA analysis, the government could finally release Roseline Akoth Ogongo's remains to her family. Due to the condition of her body, and with only her upper torso recovered and the lower half missing, her extended family was not permitted to view it.
Roseline ni last born wetu. Tuko wengi lakini yeye ndio last born. Roseline akiwa mdogo alikuwa anapenda watu sana. Tena wezi upata kama amekasirika. Ni mtu alikuwa anacheka kila mtu.
"77 days after Roseline went missing, her family was finally able to lay her to rest in Dago village in Bondo. As the drumming and songs echoed through the air, the casket slowly descended into the grave. But amidst the rhythm and melody, something heavier hung in the air: the finality of death. The journey, full of pain, love and loss, was coming to an end. As Roseline's grave lay adorned with only a wreath of roses, her 3 young children, aged 10, 8 and 2.5, have been left under the care of her siblings and mother. In the quiet of the graveyard, her family is still coming to terms with the painful reality that they may never know the full truth of what happened to her.
Sasa hata hakuna haja sababu sisi tumemaliza. Sasa hakuna haja. Sasa hata wakipata si hakuna haja, sisi tumemaliza na Rose.
The circumstances of Roseline and the other Kware corpses' deaths shocked the country at a time when anti-finance bill protests coupled with abductions were the order of the week. However, these stories are further evidence of another crisis that the country is still coming to terms with: the surge in cases of femicide.
When you have reports of about 10 women disappearing from different families in 1 month, and then maybe another 5, and then another 6, then you are able to see a particular trend and you start working on it.
According to the women leaders, the Kware case is an example of what happens when security operators downplay initial clues in reported incidents.
We demand accountability from all the security chiefs responsible for the area surrounding Mukuru Kwajenga. It is critical that those entrusted with our safety and security to be held accountable for failing to prevent such horrific crimes.
We have police officers who the oath, once you take the oath and you graduate, that's it. You leave it there on the ground and you come now to deal with the people out here. So that obeying the oath that they take, that you're going to serve and protect everyone without disregard for anything else, really needs to come back.
Since Collins Jumaisi escaped from police custody, the DCI have put up this public appeal to aid in capturing the self-confessed serial killer. On November 7th, while appearing before the National Assembly Committee on National Administration and Internal Security, Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja insisted that the case is still open.
That's a case of interest. We are still hunting down on that serial killer. We have already once again been to the print media requesting the members of the public once again to assist us.
Even after Collins Jumaisi's confession to dumping the bodies of 42 women at the Kware dumpsite.
Hapo kwa dumpsite sahi ni kaa museum. Sahi ni kaa tu watu wa Kware sahi weekend kaa na kazi ama ako off. Ako hapo kujionea kitu ili happen.
We have officers who are genuinely interested in serving mwananchi, who truly want to ensure justice is done, for sure. And even at the homicide, I've come across a few individuals who truly want to do it, but it's the system that is rotten. We have to continue demanding accountability. Accountability, particularly in the police service. You know, we can't just have women killed, you know, dismembered, put in sacks and thrown in the pit, yet no one is held accountable.
And as the weeks drift into months, the Kware families continue to wait, holding on to memories and fragments of hope, with answers as elusive as ever. In this quiet limbo, the case of the Kware murders grows colder with every passing day. A story suspended somewhere between grief and justice, with the full truth and closure just out of reach for now.